Hi everyone. Welcome back to my video. Okay. It's okay. One more time. Take 1,000,000. Hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel for another video. My name is Diana and I create cross-stitch patterns under the name Diana Bloom Designs. I live here in the Canadian prairies with my husband, our two wonderful daughters, and our dog named Scout. Today I'm coming to you with a little bit of a different video. This is my second design behind the scenes kind of video where I show you a little bit of what it looks like when I'm working on the patterns that I then release here on my channel and in my Etsy shop. So today I'm actually going to talk about two different patterns that I'm working on. One I have started and is in kind of the final stages, and one of them I haven't started at all. So I have an idea of what I want for it, but I thought it would be fun to take you through what it looks like for me to just start a pattern and sort of how I do that. So firstly, I'll show you the pattern that's nearly finished and in fact should be released 2 weeks from when you're seeing this video. The pattern is of a European goldfinch, and I'll show a couple pictures here of references of European goldfinches that I actually used when I was doing the first sketches of this and started out charting. So this is a lovely little bird. It seems to be quite little, and in fact some of the pictures it's standing on top of flowers, which I think is very sweet and tells me that it must be very light. And the striking feature about this bird is it has some beautiful bright red on its face, and then on its body it has some very bright yellow feathers. So I thought it was really, really beautiful when I saw it, and I thought that the bold, bright reds and yellows was very summery. So it was something that I was very excited to chart up because I think that those bright colors will be very fun to stitch with. So right away, I will show you the color palette that I want to use. And in typical fashion, everything that I designed lately has been in Roxy Floss Co. linen and flosses. So I've got my full color palette here with my floss ring. It's quite a limited palette, and I think it's going to be a bit of a smaller chart. So it'll be a quick stitch. You can see there's a couple of greens, a couple of yellows, and then a muted kind of beige. And of course that bright red and the bright yellow, which is, the bright red is Falou Red by Roxy Floss, and the bright yellow is called Sunflower. And then the linen that I've got here is Speculous, and the cut that I have is 40 count. And it's a beautiful kind of light, neutral, it has almost like golden tone to it that I really love. So I think that'll look beautiful with the reds and yellows. And I will actually show you, I'll put up a picture here of what my chart looks like so far, and then you'll see me working on it as we go through the video and as I speak to it a little more. So I'm going to have some B-roll of me kind of working on the chart, and I'll show you some of the reference materials that I've been using while I worked along on this and while I'm finishing it up. Okay, so I think I mentioned in a previous video, the design software that I use is on my iPad, and it's called Stitchly. It's quite affordable. It is a very simple charting software. I feel like the other ones might be a little more robust, but this one is serving me so far. With this piece, I do have the bird mostly finished, and I have a lot of the flowers in. Like I said, on one of the reference photos, I saw that the bird was standing on top of some flowers, or on top of one flower at least, and I thought that was really sweet, and it made me want to use that in my design as well. I looked around at some different flowers, and I really like one called Yarrow, which creates these little cloudy tufts of flowers that I thought would work well for this piece. And it has some kind of wispy, sort of palmy fronds looking leaves instead of what we think of like as a big true leaf. So I think I'm going to try to reflect that as well. And in terms of decoration, other than that, I really want to include a border that has kind of a Polish folk art feel to it. I'm not exactly sure what I want from that yet, but I know that I've been really liking the look of the French antique samplers and that sort of very painterly style with all of the detail. But I've also, in contrast, been really liking the look of Polish folk art and Polish folk costumes with all of the different embroidery that's really beautiful. One thing that draws me to that as well is my husband, his family is originally from Poland, which I think is really wonderful. It's a beautiful culture. And we like the idea of having some different references to Polish culture in our home, just so that our daughters can grow up surrounded by it. So I like the idea of using it and including it in any of the work that I make, partly for that reason and partly because I just think it's visually beautiful. So I'll show you, I made a mood board that kind of um, features both the French antique sampler kind of look and then also the Polish folk art look together. I think I called it French and folk when I was making it. And you can see that there's sort of those two references together in a way that they sort of cross over. Um, and it was helpful to have this as a reference while I was sketching and kind of working on this piece. I'm hoping that looking at this mood board is going to help me with the borders at the end. I kind of have an idea of what I want. I feel like I want sort of like a heavy border at the bottom and then a smaller border at the top and sides, or just at the top. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to kind of see how everything looks together. And then the final step to creating this pattern is to take the finished chart and bring it into my desktop computer where I can create the final PDF. This is a lot more of the graphic design side of my work, less the illustration and art side. But actually, it's a very relaxing part of the process. And I do like making sure that all of the stitches are included and that the symbols are very readable. It's nice seeing everything come together in the way that it will be finished and presented to anybody who stitches the pattern. And in the end, it comes together feeling like a finished product, which is very satisfying. And that's really the end of creating this pattern. I'm very excited for that to be out in the world in the next couple of weeks. And next, I'm excited to talk to you about creating a brand new pattern from scratch. So the next one that I have in mind is, well, maybe not the next pattern, but the next pattern that I'm working on is going to be one with some European bluebirds. Some very, again, beautiful birds that have very striking colors. I'll show you a picture here of the male European bluebird that really I thought was very beautiful. It has a very, very bright blue color to it. I wonder. I even ended up buying some new colors because of this bird because I thought it was so beautiful. Where's the one I had bought in particular? This one's called Duotang. I thought that was very bright and pretty and true for that bird. But then my idea with this one isn't just to have, again, the one bird kind of centralized in the pattern. I wanted something a little different for this one. I think it still might be a small. I'm enjoying working on some smaller pieces, especially because I just released a bigger piece shortly or recently. So with this one, I'm excited to have this beautiful blue bird. But then I got the idea of also including a female version of the European bluebird, which looks like this. And it's very typical for female birds to be a little more subdued in color. I assume this is so that they can kind of hide away from predators with any of their babies, things like that. But I also thought that this bird was very beautiful. And I think probably we end up featuring the male versions of birds a lot because they're so bright and striking. So I thought it'd be nice to have both of them where we can see the bright, striking bluebird and then the much softer, peachy female version where she's got just tiny hints of blue right by her wings. And I want to find a way to either use these birds together in one pattern, maybe for something like a pin drum, or even a framed smaller piece. But I'm also thinking of something like maybe a needle book where one of the birds features on the front and one on the back, or pin pillows, maybe a series of 2 pin pillows where one has one bird, one has the other. Something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet. I've sort of been circulating these ideas for a while, and I'm very excited about all of them right now, which is almost less helpful, but very fun. And it gives me a lot to work with. So when I get started on a pattern, I look at the reference photos that I'm using and I start pulling colors right away, just because that gives me a starting point. That way, when I start sketching, I have colors that I can use. And I sort of know where I'm going with this, how many colors I can use based on what I've pulled. And again, it's not unusual for me once I get into sketching to realize that I need more colors and I go back to the wall and pull some more. But pulling these initial colors is going to be a great starting point. Next, I move over to drawing. So I'll do up a sketch. I imagine for this one, I'm going to sketch both birds, and I imagine a lot of foliage with this, a lot of intertwined, almost like wallpaper design, where there's a lot of weaving in and out of the foliage, and then the birds are sort of placed opposite each other. Something that maybe isn't repeating the way wallpaper is, but almost looks like it could be. I think that would be really interesting. And I'm excited to play with that. And again, I'm going to have to sketch up, should this be one piece together or two smaller pieces that would be sort of placed side by side. Something like the needle book, where you would open it to see kind of the full image and close it to see each of the two little vignettes. So I'm very excited to get to sketching, which I guess you're seeing now. Me playing around with some of the different possible shapes, possible compositions. This is one of the most fun parts of the process because there's the most potential. When you're doing these kinds of sketches, they're so fast that it's very easy to try an idea and decide, do I want to go ahead with that or move on to something completely different? So that's always a fun part of the process. And this really is just the starting stages of this project, but I'm excited to get to show you how I do start from absolute scratch, where I've just got some pictures that I am excited by and inspired by. And then what are the first steps in creating a pattern from there? And then I imagine in future videos that or future design behind the scene videos, I'll get to show you moving forward from this point, and you'll get to see how the project progresses. But for now, I think I will leave you here with these little bits of just the process that I go through when I'm working on some different patterns. This is very much real time, what's on my to-do list for today, and I'm very excited to get to share it with you. I hope it's nice to get to see kind of behind the curtain and to see what goes into designing different patterns. At least over here, this is my process, and I'm very excited to get to share it with you. I hope that it gives you some insight in a hobby that we all know and love very, very well. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful crafty day. Thank you so much for joining me here for this little bit of a different video, and for sticking through to the end. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.